Hello and welcome to lesson number 4 in our reading passages series. So in this lesson, we're actually going to get to the halfway point on our reading passages lessons. And this lesson will also wrap up basically all of the tools that we're going to be showing you for reading passages. After this lesson, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at the individual subjects that are covered on the SAT, which include science, art, history, and narrative. This lesson itself is going to cover paired passages, and so we're going to show you how exactly to approach paired passages on the test. Now, each test of the SAT has one paired passage that you're going to be asked to approach, and really the approach isn't very different from what you would do with a single passage, with the exception of a few questions that ask you to either compare or contrast the two passages. And so we'll go ahead and we'll show you how to work through that process in this lesson today. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, a bit of review. What is the StudyWheel method for critical reading? So again, it's 4 steps. The first step is to outline the passage. And as you're outlining, you're going to want to write down the topic overall. You're going to want to write down each paragraph topic, and then you're going to want to write down the main point. After that, you're going to want to identify the question type. And depending on what kind of question type it is, you're going to want to do something slightly different. So if you'll remember, the 4 types of question types are main point, detail, inference, and vocab and context. Once you've gone ahead and identified the question type and worked through the process of trying to figure out an answer, you want to go ahead and predict an answer. And then finally, once you've predicted, you want to eliminate the wrong answers. And there's 4 elimination strategies that you can use. The first one has to do with the scope. So depending on what you're being asked, you need to make sure that the scope of the answer choices matches up. So if you have an answer choice that is too narrow, that only covers a portion of what the question is asking, or if it's too broad by bringing in other aspects that weren't addressed in the question, then you're going to want to eliminate based on that. The second most popular type of wrong answer choice is distortions. So you'll want to eliminate based on that. And then what don't come up very often are opposites and extremes. Now keep in mind that the College Board and the SAT, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be extreme. So when you see an extreme answer choice that uses very strong language or uses all absolutes like always or never, that's a good tip that you're going to want to go ahead and eliminate those. Okay. And then finally, how should you approach paired passages? Well, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. But basically, the way you want to do that is you want to use the test's weaknesses to make into your strengths. And we'll show you how you can do that. Okay, so a bit about paired passages. So paired passages in many ways are really the same but different. And so the way I like to look at paired passages is you can look at them as being relatives. So they've got the same blood in the family, but each individual in the family is quite different. So in this case, you've got the same topic, but you're going to have different opinions, and you're going to have different main points. All right. So the paired passage process is basically 3 steps. You first start out by attacking passage 1, and that means that you read, write, and eliminate for passage 1. So you're going to read passage 1, and then you're going to go to the questions, and you're going to answer those questions before you've even started passage 2. Then, once you've gone ahead and done that, you're going to want to read, write, and eliminate for passage 2. And then, once you've gone ahead and you've done those 2, then you're going to want to come to the questions that ask you about both passages, the compare and contrast. And so, as you're doing that, you want to think about the similarities and then the differences between passages. All right. So now let's take a look at the 3 types of questions that you're going to see about paired passages. So the first type of question are similarity questions. And Similarity questions will look like this. They'll either say both passages are primarily concerned with, or both passages refer to. And in this case, it's dealing with what the two authors have in common, where they share the same opinion. So the key here is that for approaching these questions, you want to use your outline to isolate the shared topic, and then also the common threads between the passages. All right, so you can probably guess the next type of question are the difference questions. And when you see those, the question stems are going to look like this. The passages differ, or the authors disagree. And in this case, you want to follow a very similar strategy to what you've done with the similarity questions. So you want to use your outline to test the answer choices that are supported by facts in both passages. And that's a really important thing, is that you oftentimes don't want to infer very much with these, but instead you want to just focus on the facts that are supplied in the passage, and based on those facts, what is the difference between the two? Okay, and then the last type of question is probably the one where the inferences do come in. And it's one of the harder types of questions that you'll see on the test. And it's reacting. So it's basically something along the lines of the author of passage 1 would most likely react to the blank contained in passage 2 by. And so in this case, you have to think, okay, based on what I know about author 1, what would they think about something that comes up in passage 2 or something that the author argues in passage 2? So in this case, you want to use your outline to test the reacting author's views against the other author or passage. So you really want to put yourself in the shoes of the one author, think about what their main point is, what their argument is, and then based on what their main point is, how would they react or what would they think about the other author? So that's basically it for paired passages. You just want to follow this 3-step strategy to, first of all, work on the first passage, answer those questions, then work on the second passage, answer those questions, and then do the compare and contrast questions. And the reason this is possible is that the test weakness is that they're going to list the questions in terms of the line numbers. So you might get some compare and contrast questions in the beginning, but once you skip past those, you're going to be dealing with questions exclusively about passage 1, and then you're going to be dealing with questions exclusively about passage 2, and then you can go ahead and move back to the compare and contrast. So let's go ahead and see how this works with a passage right here. So here we've got 2 passages. Our first step is that we're going to want to look at what the topic is. So the following 2 passages discuss different aspects of the impact of World War I on British people and society. So our topic is World War I impact on Brit society. Okay, passage 1 examines the power of misinformation during war. So this one's talking about misinformation. Passage 2 is from an essay that explores how World War I uniquely affected British women. Okay, so let's go ahead and read passage 1, outline it, then we'll go on to the answers and solve them. Okay, so propaganda was used in World War I as in any war, and the truth